You're listening to the G Spot. The G is for Geek. Only on Project Nerd.
Hey!
What's up, everyone? It's us.
It's the G Spot.
Oh, yeah.
The G. Bow, bow, bow.
We're here at the G Spot, live.
Live.
Live with a list of unproblematic males.
I'm not like it's a hate men train or whatever you want, but I just had this minute where I was like, I feel like it's no fault to particular men out there, so don't get your ego hurt. But characters, I mean, there's lots of problematic female characters, but I feel like there's also just tons of problematic male characters. But that's really starting to change, and they didn't always exist. And I don't know, maybe we could talk about those guys, and maybe give the penis some credit.
Yeah.
This is an idea. It's an idea I had.
Yeah, I did. My list is based on just the movies of these people or with these people, because as I'm sure you all know, I have not read any comics. I don't think I've read any comics. If I have, it's been just manga. So
yeah,
I'm a weeb. I'm sorry, God. But yeah, I haven't read any Western comics. Not because they're not good, but just because I was a weeb. So what do you expect from me? Give me a break.
I can mention, I feel like I can only think of maybe two characters from comics that aren't problematic who are men, but at the same time, the problem with comics compared to doing some movies or TV is that the universes are just so big, and there's so many different versions of that maybe what I have read was not problematic, but there's going to be someone who's oh, actually in the 7th edition comic book for the 5 there was a rape story or something like that. I'm well, I can't keep track of everything. So I think comic books, I have two that might count as that, but I'm treading lightly just because it's unrealistic. I just don't have the knowledge of that particular character's anthology in every single series.
Yeah, there's a lot of comics out there, so especially for big names like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or there's probably some problematic storyline, but I'm discounting all of those and just focusing on movies / TV shows / popular media.
Yeah.
That isn't comic books.
All right. You want to go first?
Sure. So, because I have just finished watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, my first pick is Bucky. Whoa, I hear you. I know. He did work for Hydra, but it was against his will, okay? He would not have chosen to work for Hydra. He experienced tragedy. His best friend was a little... Okay, we are rewatching The Winter Soldier, and they say friggin' Steve Rogers pre his injections is 5'4", but they make him look like a freaking midget. Or sorry, a little person?
Little person. It's little person.
A little person. We'll cut that out, guys. I don't want to sound able.
You know what? How about this is a learning moment of we're not perfect, nobody's perfect, and it's not problematic that you said that phrase. It's you, it would only be problematic if you stood by it. You stop, you corrected yourself, you realize you're wrong, we're only human, that's what matters.
And I just watched Life is Short with Warwick Davis, and he said
he's problematic. That show is so funny. Oh
yes, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Training with Johnny Depp, but he's
episode is the greatest episode. It's so good.
And then he comes up because he's gonna tear up Ricky Gervais for his Oscar speech, and he has these terrible jokes. He's nobody insults Tim Allen on my watch. I'll admit that was what I really appreciated Johnny Depp for. He really did not give a fuck about the Hollywood stuff, and went on that show and was I don't care that he made fun of me. I think that was good.
Amazing show. But back to Bucky or James Buchanan Barnes. Okay, so he's. Sorry, I was talking about the height of Steve Rogers.
Yes.
Because they made him look so much shorter than Bucky and everyone else around him. And I'm he's only 5'4". I'm 5'4", and I don't look that short unless everyone is 6'10". it's ridiculous.
I don't know. He looked like he was like that at that 5'4".
There were some like over the shoulder shots with like him and Bucky talking, and it's like they're straight up looking down at Steve.
But I'm not taller than you. Aren't we the same height?
I'm like 5.
So I'm 5'6".
Barely 5'5". Because I just have a tall aura.
A true 5'4", 5'2" to 5'4" is pretty short.
Yes, but I'm like 5'4" and 3/4. But I just say I'm 5'5". But I'm like, he is 3/4 of an inch shorter, and they make him look so tiny. But anyway, it's just a gripe because we're just watching that. But anyway, back to Bucky. He's a good guy. He goes to therapy. He gets help, although he is resistant. A little bit of a spoiler alert for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He goes through and he makes amends with the people that he has wronged. And he goes to Yori and he tells him that he murdered his son. And, he gets that off his chest. He listens to Sam, who's like, dude, you can't just say you're sorry. That just makes you feel good. So he's open to listening and fixing himself, making himself better. And he's like, he stays out of the spotlight. He's like, this is Sam. He's Captain America. It's his time to shine. Like, I'm just here to support him. Not like most unproblematic ever, but he's just number one on my list.
I think we could put Vision probably in that same category too.
Yeah, but he's like not a real guy.
Yeah, but I think the cool thing about Vision is that first of all, he's a male. He's still a male. It is representation, even if he's not a real guy, a young boy is still going to see him and not be like, that's a robot. They understand that's a man. But I think just having his ability to always try to learn, and
that is positive.
And then him like making mistakes, and then like later being like that wasn't the right thing, and he has this constant battle with morality. And I think the thing too is he was made by Tony Stark, who had very specific viewpoints near the middle, especially during that Civil War era, and not being kind of having to challenge what God, because that's his God, the man who created him, making the choice to think for himself and all that, and go against programming. I just think there's a lot of, I think the big thing with Bucky and Vision, the theme I'm seeing is not accepting mistakes without a fight, and then being proactive on trying to learn from them.
Yeah.
Because you're right, Bucky went through a lot of they both have their flaws. Bucky still had plenty of dark times, but his dark times weren't he just chose to seclude himself. He was still being this. I think that you're right. He's constantly trying to learn and just in his own way. Vision's a lot more accepting of his mistakes and is more open about it, while Bucky is more human, and he's dealing with a lot more of the shame factor.
And Vision is he's like a Vulcan. He's just ruled by logic. But he learns, and he's not defensive if someone says, oh, you're wrong about this. He's like, oh, well, let me learn and see what I did or whatever.
Well, I think too, we see moments of deflection with Bucky, that toxic masculinity, but he never takes it to a gaslighting space or a aggressive, it's quick, little funny insults or perks with it, little, tit for tat with his friends. But whenever things get really, really bad, he's really good at just accepting it and being quiet. And I feel with someone, a lot of real men in real life, and someone in a situation would be really defensive and try to find a way to blame everybody else around them instead of just dealing with the shame and the guilt. And I think Bucky does that really well.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
that's positive. I really liked when him and Sam were in with the therapist, and they were like, get close, get really close, and they got right up inside of each other basically. And they were just this is, we're still bros, we're good friends, whatever, we're able to work past this. And even though he was initially against therapy, he came around to it, so he's a good guy.
I'll kind of piggyback on that to something totally different but similar qualities. Did you ever watch Battlestar Galactica? The sci-fi?
No.
First of all,
John Travolta?
So, okay, that's Battlestar Earth, and that's that.
Same diff.
No, it is not. No, Battlestar Galactica is award-winning. Katie Sackhoff's career started there. First of all, fucking-tastic. It's a mini-series first, and then it got turned to a TV show, and it just continued from the mini-series. So the series is on Peacock for free, but you have to still find the mini-series, because the mini-series is the first 2 episodes, so you have to find that. So I found it on the internet, but that's kind of annoying. I don't know why they just don't have the mini-series on there. But Captain Adama is one of the best examples of positive masculinity. And this is a man of color who is dealing with death, genocide, internal problems. He had a lot of stuff from his past, and it's like in the war in this show, the Cylons. Some of them are robots. They're all robots, but some of the robots look like people. So then there's like the sense of like a witch hunt, like who's a Cylon and who's not. And he is so good, and we see some ridiculous story arcs in the show with him. And there's like an episode where this is technically a spoiler, but the show came out like 10 years ago. He gets shot and he makes it, but while he's in a coma, the surgery and all that, the last remaining, because everybody, they call it the fleet, all the last of humanity is together, and all these like a bunch of like basically when all the planets get attacked, right? The society gets destroyed, so the only survivors were humans that were on ships for whatever reason, like vacations, or like I just happened to be traveling, like it was like random who survived, who happened to be in the air when this happened in space. And so they collect everybody they can. They're like, okay, now they're a caravan of the last surviving race trying to find a new home, and there's a big political thing, all this crazy stuff. And the movie has a lot of like the show has a lot of like weird like religion stuff in it. But in their religion, it's like kind of like they follow like the original Greek gods, things like that. So it's religious, but it's not like God. They like believe in Athena and Zeus, so it's much more palatable. But in it, this woman has this vision, and she wants to kind of pursue something based off of like religious text, and it creates a divide because when people that are more practical are like, this is like a fool's errand, like we need to focus on this. But she's like, no, I think like this is our answer to finding a new home. And while he's in a coma, there's a big like the separation. She gets arrested, and they all escape. Half the fleet disappear. Like basically people pick sides. And so he's now, and his son, because he has two sons, one dies like before the show even starts, like he died long ago. And then so now he's got this estranged son. They're trying to like build this relationship back up, but he ends up like leaving and going off with the other side. And so there's an episode where he's like, it's just the place is shit, and he asks one of his lower like deck people, she's a girl, to come in, and he's just venting to her because he's during this whole process of this split and people like choosing sides, he's going through PTSD of having been shot point blank by this robot. So he's also dealing with like trauma, survivor's trauma and stuff. He's going on about like rage and this, just venting like you would to a therapist. And she finally goes, like, can I just say something, like, Captain, if you speak freely? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, you're not upset that like that the split is happening and blah blah blah. You're upset because you got shot, and now you're scared and you're weak, and you feel like you failed us. Like you're this father figure, you're this leader, and you feel like you failed. So this is why you have all this anger. It's not because you got shot. It's because you feel like a failure, and you did fail. And he got like all angry, and he's like, if I be honest, she's like, I think you asked me to come in and talk to me because you thought I wasn't going to say anything back, but I do have things to say. And she's like, we were a family, and now we're separated. You failed. What are you going to do about it? And like walked away, and there's this big thing, and he ends up like, and it's like this amazing episode where he literally like swallows big old crow, goes back against everything he said. Like he's like this, like it's like this episode we see this peak of like this toxic masculinity of, I'm right, we're doing it this way, this I'm not saying no, I'm not going to be a pushover, like all of like kind of like all these like negative like war type aspects. And then he goes like, he shows up and he's like, we're gonna find the president, we're gonna find the other ships, and he's like, we're getting our family back together. And then he goes down to the planet where everybody is, and he walks up to his son and just like hugs him, and they both start crying. And it's like this beautiful scene of like swallowing it all, and you are the leader of the last of the human race, and accepting that you were wrong and you've been doing it wrong, and you're going to ruin everything if you don't. And like showing that weakness and like giving up. And like that's just like one really good example. And we see this arc that goes on, and it's just like, what a good example of being a positive, non-toxic male role in a war type, like aggressive environment with like, it brings out the exact opposite in almost everybody else. There's a lot. Yeah. Also, he ends up with like, getting to act with a woman who's age appropriate, which I like loved. I love that. Like there's like a really good love story, and she has cancer and stuff. So like when they finally get together, she's like bald and all that. And I was like, what a good, just like, wow, it's like a healthy actual romance where they got to know each other.
Yeah.
And they took their time, and you kind of pick on the sexual tension later, but they're like, this isn't the time to do this. Like, it's just like a very healthy, reasonable, like, oh yeah, an age appropriate man with an age appropriate woman having a regular get to know you courtship.
Yeah.
Crazy. We never see that anymore. Like,
no, we really don't.
no, we don't. Like, it takes like 10 seasons for them to get together. It's crazy.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Well, they're both in positions of like power. So there's a lot of like maybe you can probably see how they feel, but like it's right now it's not about them. It's about saving the human race, because they're also because they're all like they're in their 50s, so they're also like realistic, responsible people, which is like it's like healthy, to see that there's a selflessness to both of them.
Yeah. Okay. I know absolutely nothing about them, but I have heard good things about it, and
it's such a good show. It's one of those shows where you start to watch it and then like 20 episodes later you're like, oh my God, it's been 20 episodes.
I'll have to check it out. It's on Peacock, so
yeah, you got to get the miniseries though. This show from Peacock starts off because they started it off as a miniseries and it got picked up, so like they never like redid the miniseries, so like you have to watch the first two or else it's like I think it's like 2 hours, so it's like 4 hours. It's a two little mini movie. Yeah.
All right, so my next dude is Sam Wilson from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier again. I thought you
were going to do Sam from Lord of the Rings. I was like, that was a good one. I forgot about Sam.
Every single male who's in the Fellowship, even Boromir, I will fight you and I will die on the pro-Boromir hill because he was a good man corrupted by the ring, okay? He just wanted to help his countrymen. So fight me. But everyone in the Fellowship is an unproblematic male. Aragorn,
maybe not. I think Gimli took some time, but he got there.
Yeah, but then he overcomes his people's hatred of elves because they betrayed them, and then he becomes such good friends with Legolas that he goes to the Undying Lands with him.
Yeah.
So they become besties.
That's a lot.
Every single person in the Fellowship. Unproblematic.
No, those tender kisses on the forehead.
It's just such positive, like emotional. Like you can show your emotions and be masculine. Like just look up to Aragorn or Sam. Like
Aragorn
has 13 children with Rosie Cotton. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids.
He's straight. Yeah, they're straight and narrow, but I agree.
Yeah. So, and people like to ship Gimli and Legolas together, and I'm not gonna fight them on it, okay? I'm in the pro Gimli Legolas ship, so we could argue for that.
All right, so Sam.
So that's like that's a whole other thing.
That's just them.
Yes.
We're just gonna say the Fellowship, and that's it.
Yeah, it's pretty much implied. Anyone in a Tolkien book or any like main character, good guy in a Tolkien book is like unproblematic. There's just like that's just assumed. Yeah. But Sam from Marvel is also, I would say, unproblematic. He jokes around with Captain America after first meeting him, and he's like lapping him, so he's like being outmanned by him, but he's not threatened by Captain America's like freaking, I don't know, prowess. What would it call that? His like physical prowess.
We know what it is.
He's a super soldier.
He's a superhero. Yeah.
And so he's like, hey man, like he's joking with him about it, and then he gets in the car with Natasha, and then they kind of have a little flirty moment there, which is respectable because they're both flirting with each other. He's not coming on to Natasha in a weird, creepy way. So he gets it, and he's like a vet, and you see he's like leading a support group for other vets. So he's helping his fellow man by trying to get them through the trauma they experienced.
Yeah.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we hear that he has like gone and like helped people de-radicalize, and he's trying to find a peaceful solution with the Carly thing. So he's not just going in guns blazing. He's trying to find a more peaceful resolution, and he doesn't get that, but he was fighting for that, and he's, spoiler alert, he's Captain America now. He's pure of heart. He's a good guy.
He pulled out the slice of American pie from the stone.
He did.
He's got an American now. Figured it out. He found the pie.
And there was cheese on it.
That's some American bullshit right there. I'll tell you what. So fucking American.
Yeah, and in Winter Soldier, he saw the good in Civil War and in Winter Soldier. He saw the good in Bucky. Like, he was like, oh, I understand. Like, he's not a bad guy. He was just used for bad things. So, I'm going to defend him, and then they become buddies, and it's like, oh.
Aww.
It's sweet.
Is your next one going to be from?
Not going to be from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because we've exhausted all the good guys.
That's like me in WandaVision. I wouldn't shut up about it, so I can't blame you. So I think I'm going to say this is more of a movie character, not a comic character, because once again, I haven't read every single freaking but I think this is a safe bet. I think Alfred from Batman is a good, positive male character. That not just like a loyalty and a gentleness, a kindness, this idea of being an employee but taking it on and like essentially raising Bruce. He is supportive. He is Batman's moral compass.
Oh yeah. Batman without him would just be a super villain.
Yeah, and this just just bat terror, and just openly calls him out. But then I think I want to say this is a really good example of a positive father figure, which we don't see as much, because I feel like we see more positive father figures in comedies.
Yeah.
But it's just Batman's just kind of like a drama, and just this idea of I'm going to call you out on your bullshit, but it is done in a way that is still supportive. Like, he checks Batman when he has to, but there is just no question of support, love, guidance, especially the Michael Caine version. When he just talks about his dream of seeing him in a cafe and nothing happens. And then when he sees him there with Catwoman and he just starts crying at the table and he doesn't go up and talk to him. He lets him fly away. I was
happy for him.
Oh my
he's gone.
gosh. Like the money had nothing to do with it. This had nothing to do with just what a great positive, role model, like a leadership figure, a father figure that we just don't see. Even in the cartoons, Alfred's it's the one character that hasn't it's something even in the Harley Quinn cartoons while Batman's out of commission, Alfred freaking dons a ridiculous costume and goes out to help fight Gotham, things like that. So just a real and it's a cartoon comedy but just even the most ridiculous universe of Batman is still Alfred's just this solid ground. I think it's good to see that, and I think I wish we tend to see those characters more with kind of that older sage, wizard figure. But I really I wish we'd see that with some people younger. But I think it's good to see that, especially I think he's one of the only ones that's not compromised in that entire universe.
Yeah, he is a good guy, and he would make little quips. I feel like in the animated series, and he was a little not really a comic relief, but.
No.
He would just kind of say little snarky things and, just to Batman, but he wasn't mean about it. He was just being himself and
So good father figure. I'm here to guide you and teach you.
Yeah. He wasn't a dick. I feel like a lot of people.
There was an actual dick, but that's different. He's Robin.
Yeah. Well, Dick Grayson, I would say, is pretty unproblematic. I'm just saying this off of just
Dick Grayson is pretty. Dick Grayson's another example of Batman where there's I have all this trauma, but I don't need therapy. Fuck you. I'm so he's the worst. Also, how he treated Barbara at the end, because Barbara was unproblematic for a long time. Dick Grayson literally repeated the same mistakes as Batman, just on a smaller scale because he was younger. Classic, good pushes away good people in his life, good love, good this, a lot of that. But we're not talking about the negative stuff. I'm about the positive stuff.
So actually, you brought to mind Obi-Wan Kenobi from the movie.
I debated putting him on my list. I
mean, I don't see what did he do that was bad?
I just.
Anakin, he believed in Qui-Gon. He wasn't that.
Well, he was not immediately. I think I think
but
older
for a good reason.
I think older Obi-Wan. I think younger Obi-Wan was a little too blind in terms of like following what the council wanted. Like it's kind of like that concept of like they because like so okay, so this is ongoing theory and I believe this. So you know how Captain America ends up being able to lift Thor's hammer? And everybody's like, oh, he could have lifted it the whole time. I don't think so. There's actually theories that he never could lift it the whole time. I think he was really, really close to lifting it back, during Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
But there was some reason why he couldn't. And someone made a comment how Captain America was a soldier, right? So no matter how good of a person, no matter how good of this, he still had an allegiance to a higher power that he listened. He couldn't be an independent thinker. He still was a soldier and that's not what that hammer is. That hammer, you need to be like independent and make choices on your own. And he was still at that time very military, very following the rules. And then there's this story that they think that he could lift it after, because after Civil Wars, when he stood up for this is wrong, like he found the last thing keeping him from being able to lift the hammer, he released it. That's kind of how I see the early Obi-Wan from like Phantom Menace. I think he does agree to train Anakin, but that's because Qui-Gon on his deathbed asked him to. Like,
yeah, but that's like a nice thing. He's like, all right, like this man's dying wish. He was my master. I was a good apprentice. He wasn't like blindly following, but he was like,
I think he's a good. I think he's not. I don't think he's
take him under my wing because it's this man's dying wish, not because he was like, I'm your master. You got to do it. He's like, I
think Obi-Wan gave up on Anakin a little too soon for my taste. I think Alfred would have made more progress with Anakin than.
Well,
Obi-Wan
he might
did.
have, but
I don't think
can you blame Obi-Wan?
And he's not super problematic, but I feel like some of the people I have on here are so golden that I'm like, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's good. I think he grows a little bit better. I've read some of the books, and there's a lot more.
Well, are those canon? Because I'm just going like the movies are.
It's so much. They said no, and then the video games aren't, but then some are. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, so no, he's pretty good.
Just from the movies alone. Because I haven't read anything, and it's just like, oh, the Mandalorian and this, and that's it.
All right, do you have another one, or was Obi-Wan your other one?
No, he wasn't, but maybe. No, I had.
Maybe.
Okay, so I haven't watched every single X-Men TV show episode, so correct me if this is very wrong, but I had Professor X.
Hold
on.
I am going to say no, but it's not a no that like he's maybe, you know what, I don't know, because I had actually I have an X-Men. I have Beast.
Oh, see, I was gonna say Beast as well because I'm like, he's Fraser Crane. So
yeah. Well, Beast just never had like this. He was an X-Men, but his goal was never to like. He always had like visions of like, I'm gonna be a scientist and go do other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even that, I don't know.
Educated man.
I think just Xavier. This is what makes the character dynamic. So I don't actually think that this might not make him problematic, but definitely is something to talk about. Is that he does play a couple, especially in the comics. He plays God a lot, like in terms of like having to make executive decisions if like someone gets killed or something like that, or like for the greater good choices. He does the same thing that Magneto does, just on a more controlled scale.
Well, not on the comics, just on like the movies and bits and pieces of the show that I've seen.
All right, so wait, no, because the Days of Future Past one, like where he can walk and stuff, he's super problematic and like an alcoholic and stuff. Talking about the ones with Picard.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I like James McAvoy. He brought freaking Patrick Stewart is like, I'm a good guy. I'm bringing these kids in. I just want everyone to, I want to foster these kids' powers and make them good and whatever. And I want to save Magneto and I want Mystique to be a good guy, blah, blah, blah. So he's like pretty consistently working for just everyone be good. And I'm going to raise these kiddies to be cool mutants and fight for me, whatever. Yeah. The James McAvoy it shows that he's made mistakes and he has learned from those mistakes.
Okay, yeah.
Anymore.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
he's learned from his, troubled past, and he's become this guy who's like, I'm going to start taking in these orphans with superpowers, not just let them run rampant and just have their, powers overtake them, and then they turn to Magneto because society has rejected them, like, molding them to be these precious young minds that they are. So that was it. And he's like the uber intellectual, and he's in a wheelchair. So it kind of normalizes, oh, this guy's in a wheelchair, but he is a fully capable human being, and it doesn't limit him in any way.
Yeah.
So it kind of, and there was a little bit of that in there as well. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna say Beast was another one that I feel like love triangles and love this, and like heartbreak are such a common theme in the X-Men. I remember whenever Beast had something like that, he always just took it gracefully. And I remember really the one thing I feel like that he's a great example of is respecting the woman's choice. I feel like everything was always like the Jean Grey and Cyclops and Wolverine stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? When something happened with Beast, he was like, got it. Even if I disagree with you, I was he was just it was never I'll win you yet. There was never that. And I just remember just being good. That's how this is supposed to happen. It's not a fucking cartoon. That's how real life is. And then also too, very just level-headed, very logic, but then it was kind of very able to talk about his feelings and be but these are my feelings. They're not the law. So, and he seemed like a male that was very good at being able to say, my feelings are valid, but my feelings aren't facts.
Oh, okay.
And I really liked that in just everything that he did. And so he wasn't Vulcan-ish, how that kind of that vision is. He had that a lot in him, but he also he was really good at empathy. He had a lot of empathy in his science.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
I thought that was a good positive thing for men to see.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a bummer because he never got the kind of happy endings that I don't know, I just feel like he was a good guy. He should have had a bit more going for him.
Yeah, but I mean they had with these group movies, it's so hard to give everyone what they deserve. Hey, if they made a freaking Beast movie, I'd watch it.
in the 90s cartoon, he ends up curing this woman's blindness. They fall in love. She's a human, and then he's all nervous because he finds a way.
It's Beauty and the Beast.
No, he finds a way how to cure her blindness. But he's scared because he hasn't told her she's a mutant. He's a mutant, and she basically, he's when she finally sees what I look like, she's gonna leave me, and he does it anyway because he's it's not about whether she leaves me or not. I want her to be able to see. Even though I know this is goodbye, and of course she's you're beautiful, and you're oh, so even he was he's I'm about to lose her, but I can let her. I can give her this gift of sight. So I he prepared himself to be left so she could be happy, and she's you are beautiful, and so in that cartoon he did. You're oh my God, Beast.
He deserved it. Oh yeah, I liked Beast. I like Kelsey Grammer, so it kind of
he honestly he was. I mean, it's too late now, but I can't think of it when I still to this day think that he was one of the best casting choices in any X-Men anyway ever. I remember he did not get enough time.
Yeah,
there was not enough fighting.
He
I just the actor, everything was, I mean, I get it. Hugh Jackman's he is Wolverine, but he's also a muscle man character. To get the Beast who's both he was
so a big guy who's an intellectual, and you're Fraser Crane, obviously.
It was great. He was great. I don't know if I could think of another person who else could play Beast.
We would be thinking all day and not come up with someone.
He was and there's probably it's probably gonna be some new buck young person out there that we're not thinking of.
Yeah. They are rebooting Frasier, FYI. So
they rebooting it?
From what I've heard. But none of the original cast is in it.
Fraser Crane, I'm Jam. This is my 90s theme song.
I just recently rewatched all of Frasier because it's a great show.
He's old too because he's on Cheers. That man had a career.
Oh yeah, his hair evolution alone is a spectacle to see. So
yeah.
Watch Frasier, it's on Hulu. Okay, so my next guy, just from the movies alone. And I know you're going to be oh, but he was problematic. just hear me out. Ant-Man. So, Ant-Man, yes, he had a life of crime, but he went to jail. He paid his dues. He's a reformed convict. So, yeah, he's had this past that he's learned from, and it's sad because he gets out of jail and he's a convict, so he can't get a job, and so he's got to go right back into a life of crime. But in the movies, he's more like a Robin Hood guy, and then he gets a break because he is an MIT grad and he's smart and he's an engineer, so he's able to get a job with Hank Pym, or Hank Pym is kind of, gets him to do stuff. But I think the learning from his past, and then like he's always been good at heart. Like he's a good dad. He's had wife troubles, but who hasn't?
All right. I'm gonna wait. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. I have something to say.
All right. Let's hear it.
My only issue with that is that Ant-Man, the film, and that character feeds into the stereotype of punishing strong mothers. In that beginning of that film, the first one, first of all, he got himself arrested, and so he got himself out of his daughter's life. Now the mother is like, she goes, "Do you want to see Cassie?" She's like, "Pay your child support, get a job." Like this woman, and then he's played as this like a victim of like, "I just want to see my daughter again." And what gets, I was like, no, you're a fucking criminal. Any sane mother in the real world would not let you near her. Like, because this mother is thinking about this long-term thing. And this is as somebody who has kept my daughter from her biological father for a long time, because every time I let him back in, he's there for 2 months and then he disappears, and I'm the one picking up the pieces of a broken, like having your father disappear on you constantly, especially as a girl, that fucks you up in so many ways, and it ruins your relationship with men in the future. And it's your job, that doesn't just because like maybe you're not violent and maybe you're not this, but you can't just come in and out of kids' life. Like you have to be a stable person. It's not about making money. It's about being there and being reliable. And there's just such this violent story for him in it. And it plays it off like he's kind of a victim when it comes to the situation with his, ex-wife and stuff. And they all make up in the end, and that's great. But that blip right there where we feel the sympathy for him, that is why women in real life who do that crap, they're the crazy ex-girlfriend, or they're unreasonable. Or another classic story of a woman keeping a child away from the father. It just really it's a real situation, and Ant-Man really fed into that stereotype, which makes it okay to make women the villain in real life. And as someone who has been that mother, I had a big problem with it, and I feel like maybe this wasn't Ant-Man the character, but that pocket story right there, and then this expectation that the only reason why he's forgiven is because he becomes a superhero. What if he hadn't? So
we're assuming that he would have changed and turned around, but this is because he became Ant-Man.
I feel like he didn't have a good sense of his. I don't know. I remember not liking that part of the movie in general, of like making us feel bad for him when anybody with fucking eyeballs would have done the same thing that she did, but she was kind of played off as this bitch.
Yeah. Well, I'm not familiar with a situation like that, so that hit you close to home with that scenario.
And are just even like social workers, things like that. Like as your kid gets older, you'll start having these experiences, not even just like, with you and your husband, but like people, like, do I want this person in my kid's life? Like you have to start that event. Any parent anywhere you can pick and choose who your child's around, and there will be a crossroads. Every parent has it where, sometimes you look like a bad guy because nobody else can understand why you don't want that person around. But then you have to be like, now I have to explain how it's going to happen, and whether it's maybe you don't like a teacher they have, or something like that. Like that stuff happens, and women are constantly being painted as just like the deadbeat dad. There's the crazy mom.
Yes, well, I mean, in Ant-Man's ex-wife's defense, he made her crazy because he was living a life of crime, and then went to jail.
And like even like how when her new husband like being like, get out of here, like what are you doing? And we're like, he just wants to show up to her birthday party, and like clearly she wants to see him. It was like, yeah, of course Cassie wants to see him, but like we're entering this part now. We're not entering the part that happened prior when her dad was gone for 7 years or things like that. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like we're like we never got to see them pick up the pieces to get Cassie back to this place. We just come right back into Cassie being happy.
Well, then, how long does between Ant-Man and then Ant-Man and the Wasp? Because doesn't she get like significantly older?
Oh no, that was after Snap. Because remember the years go by.
Oh,
no, she's
okay.
10. She's 10 in the Ant-Man and Wasp. So I think she's probably 8 or 9. Because he's on probation and stuff during Civil War, so she's probably 8 in the first one. Because she has a birthday party, so she might be, I think we might actually have an exact age. And then she's 15, 16, but that's because time has passed. Yeah. And the second one, they all like, you can see like they do like at the end when he's like, he does a big, he goes, thank you for everything you do for Cassie. Like he did have that redeeming moment. I'm gonna give him that.
Redemption is a big deal.
But like that's just like a fantasy. Like people aren't always forgiven.
Well, yeah, all of these movies are fantasies.
Are they really?
None of it's real. A man cannot grow 10 times the size of a house.
But his dick can. No, sorry.
God, I hope not.
So my point, I actually don't think his life or crime is problematic. I don't, and like I'm not looking at problematic of like black and white, like crime or not crime. I'm thinking more like what are messages, subconscious messages that like young boys are picking up. And
like you can't just see. You'd have to see all of these movies to see his arc and his redemption, his progression as being this convict dad who missed out on his child's life to being like, okay, I was in the wrong. Like, I see everything I did. Thank you for taking care of my daughter, even though I've been a piece of crap, and I'm gonna be in her life now. Like, whatever.
They all seem to co-parent great. Like, even like his ex-wife has his back at the end. She's like yelling at the feds for him.
Yeah, like it all comes together. So you need that, everyone.
I think Ant-Man and Wasp Batman. Coach, like the second one, he was a good guy. From like everything about him was very positive, and Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean. You hit like a nerve that I was like, we're just feeding into the. I'm so tired of like this is, but like, I mean, people don't think it's a big deal, but like it does naturally affect that.
Yeah, like, and it's not something I thought about because I haven't experienced it.
Yeah, and also too, like it's the single dad, single father standard, and I'm going through that again. And I'm saying this, I know he hears this podcast. I don't even care. Like my ex-husband is a fantastic father. Like he is. Like whatever problems we have going on, like, and like my daughter isn't even his biological kid yet. We're working on that. We're working on the adoption and all that. But like there is great, solid, so good. Okay, I say that. But I have heard people talk about him and then talk about me, and if he and I could be doing the exact same thing, and he's just such a good father. Like how lucky, I'm so lucky that I have such a good, like every other ex has been such a loser. And I was like, I'm not lucky. I said like, it's a standard. We need to hold men and women to the same standard. But because my ex-husband is literally just doing his job, I need to be extra grateful. No, I don't. Because I hold him to the same standard that he holds me to. And but because I'm so lucky. I'm like, or I maybe I'm not so lucky. Maybe you have too low standards for single fathers.
I think that's it.
Well, that is
just dads in general. People are like, dad is supposed to be like the babysitter and mom is the primary, but it's like, no, they're both in this together, So
that kind of like, that's another like thing that's kind of created from that. So then when we see these cinematic movies where he's like, he just wants to see his daughter, he's amazing. I was like, but is he amazing? Is he the one getting up in the middle of the night when she's sick? Is he the one that's doing this?
It's a big deal for like the stepdad because he isn't this, deadbeat as much as Ant-Man is, and he's kind of stepping up to be the dad and to be a good dad. And then like it's like people hold moms and stepdads up to the standard, but then like moms and biological dads are not at the same standard because they're like, I see a lot of well, not a lot, but I do see positive portrayals of stepdads, and they're like, trying their best, and they're being there, and they're present, and they're, uh, just listening to their kids or their stepkids, and usually it's the, you're not my real dad, but they're still trying. And then the real dad is like, hey, I'm swooping in for a minute, and then I gotta peace out.
Yeah, I live in you with six new pets, and but yeah. No, this is not a comic book or nerdy thing, but in Love Actually, Liam Nielsen's character is a really good positive stepfather character. Go check it out. Like, I'm not going to get into that detail because it's not really in the vein of what we do, but that's a really good example of positive.
It's a good Christmas movie, sense. People.
Okay, and so my last one, I talked about it before, was Kristoff from Frozen 2.
Oh, yeah.
His love is not fragile. I'm here. What do you need from me? He, I think, actually is like the epitome of like what that is. And then like he is the one who has this like love song in the woods, pining over. Like I there's no he the only person in that entire show that like, I guess like Love is an Open Door, but that's like more of a duet kind of thing. But like that pining love that we see like part of your world, and like all this kind of stuff, like this like Beauty and the Beast, it goes to the man in the movie.
Yes, like universal, man. See, guys have feelings too, and
he's so
you
good
guys
at
have
that.
Feelings? No, look at Kristoff. Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix. Timothy Oliphant, he does a great job. He's like a Kristoff because he's there, he's present. He's like, what do you need? Like, I'm a supportive partner.
He is right. He's right or die.
You are. Like, like they're together in it. They're equals. Like, it's such a great portrayal of unproblematic dad / husband / life partner. Lots of good people.
Yeah, it's a winner.
But Santa Clarita Diet.
Well, that's my whole list.
Well, I had Thor as well because he got fat and everyone was like making fun of him. But he's like, I have feelings, everyone. Listen to me. I'm depressed. What happened? Yeah, he's like, I'm a man. I drink beer. But he's not. He's pure of heart. He can hold Mjolnir. Like, he's not this doofus like Tony Stark and womanizing. He's like, Natalie Portman, you're a smart, beautiful woman. I'm not threatened by your brains. I want to be with you. Like,
yeah. I think him getting fat and then having that like moment, I guess, he was going through a hard time. Like, it did take him a little bit to learn the lesson.
Feelings. He was showing his feelings. He got a little like, jealous when Captain America kind of nudged that hammer, but he's got feelings. He's a dude. He doesn't like hit women or berate them, or he's not a womanizer. He's not, his ego is pretty big, but he is also a god, but he's not like lording it over people. And, he sees Hulk in the dome and he's like, I'm happy to see you. And please don't kill me. And we'll get out of this together.
He's my friend. We're friends.
And he gives Valkyrie like the recognition she deserves.
Oh yeah. He does. That was a baller move.
Yeah. So he's like, he's not like, I need the power. Me. He's like, I know when someone is better equipped for a job than me, and Valkyrie, you're it. So go on ahead, take this.
Love it.
So that's my last one. I promise.
And I want to point out, like, almost all of these characters, except maybe Beast here, but the one I met, like, they're all like newer. Like, we're learning. Yeah. There's some really good examples out there. I think that if we keep on this track, our sons will have much better examples, and that makes me really happy.
Yeah, and it's not like SJW, oh crap, blah 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 stuff. It's like these are just real, like more real, accurate portrayals of a well-rounded male character. It's not like, I'm a macho man, I can't show my feelings, I've just got to kill everyone who gets in my way, and I need power and blah blah. Like, it's just a super villain. That's
super unhealthy, because then we want to make sure all you young men out there know, like, the longer you hide, you repress your feelings, the more they come out in toxic ways. And we need to normalize crying. We need to normalize men telling other men I love you.
Just watch the Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings is just the example that we need.
Just read the books, watch the movies. If you don't have a dad or you don't have a positive male role model, read the books, watch the movies over and over and over again, because they're good and they're great portrayals of men. And if you identify with Boromir, you're still a good dude, okay? Read the books. He's still a good guy, all right? He
Yeah.
was going to call Aragorn king. All right. That moment. Oh, God, when he dies, it gets me every time. Every time. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Anything else?
Find us wherever you get your podcasts. We love that you're putting us in your ears right now. We're in your earbuds. So
All right.
thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
All right.